So Dave Sampson is somebody obviously who kind of knows more than any of us about the kind of economics of professional sports. And it's one of those things where people are like, oh, people are actually saying like, oh, these WNBA players are educated. You think you're going to screw them a CBA? No. I mean this when I say this. That the lawyers, like you communicate through your lawyers. By the way, like, I don't even think some of the owners aren't even realistically capable of that. Like, the reality is that both parties hire lawyers for reasons because they're the ones who are capable of negotiating. It's not saying that the players are dumb, but I mean, if you're suggesting having a fucking generic college degree that could literally be in anything means you can negotiate $1 billion fucking CBA deal, then maybe. But like, it's this is someone who's actually, being in that front office, albeit apparently did a real bad job, which might, as much as anything, put him in a position to say what's going on when apparently he did a horrific job. But let's take a listen here.
Concerned players in the WNBA, that the talk that surrounded Caitlin Clark, the excitement, the juice surrounding women's basketball is.
Yep, and I think that's the one thing people don't realize is that the players don't realize that the hype is already going down for anything that isn't Caitlin Clark or college, by the way. But Unrivaled is gone way down. At least, thank fuck, they've got Angel Reese. That's all I can say.
It's coming out of the balloon. If you think that owners are going to sign a deal where they are guaranteeing an amount of money to their players that will guarantee financial underperformance for these assets, then you obviously don't understand business. Will there be a compromise at the 11th hour?
Probably. Like, I think both sides to compromise. I think it'll be, my guess is that it's going to be 20%, potentially going up to 25% instead of 25-30, 20 to 25%, but not a guarantee. Revenue targets have to be hit.
You certainly would like to think so, but a compromise that is not weighted toward the owners is not going to happen.
It's one of those things where it's like compromise weighted toward the owners wanted 9%, the players wanted 40%. There's no compromise that's weighted towards the players or weighted towards the owners. Because at the end of the day, the players, the most likely scenario is the owners have to give twice the percentage they want, the equivalent, and the players get half the percentage they want. That's both sides compromising.
So if you are a WNBA player out there or somebody who is involved in the WNBA Players Association, please take this message seriously. Any sort of one-time revenue hit does not impact a business plan that a company.
Yeah, and this is the funniest part about this. But like Natasha Cloud heavily implied that WNBA owners, any revenue that is made by WNBA owners renting out their arenas should count as WNBA revenue. She implied that, by the way. That was an implication, and I'm like, basically saying like, look, like her argument was basically along the lines of like, look, we know that you might be losing money in the WNBA, but we also know you're making all this money from renting out your arena at different times. And it's like, well, yeah, you do realize that if your league shuts down, they can rent out the arena for those 4 months, and they're more like instead of having something that's a loss, they're just able to rent out their arena. They just have the real estate. Like, at the end of the day, look, I hope the league keeps going. But like, the way things are going, it might not.
He has. When the Players Association wants to say to owners, you're having expansion fees, relocation fees, you're getting a one-time signing bonus from your broadcast partners.
Yeah, but whatever about the signing, but like the expansion fees can't be taken into account. I think anyone with a brain knows expansion fees can't be taken into account because all the expansion fees does is it dilutes the TV money. So let's just say it's 200 million a year for whatever 12. If it was 12 teams, that would be, I should say, I don't know, 200 divided by 12, 70 million a year, thereabouts. But if it's 18 teams, it goes to like 5 million. So you're losing as an individual. So if it's 18 teams, it's like 12 million. So you're losing 5 million. So each team loses about 5 million a year based on expansion. So, and that's per team. So you have to divide the 250 million by that. So let's say it's by 12 teams, so it's 10 million. So like within 2 years, with the amount of money that they'll get from the expansion fees, within like 2 years of a TV deal, they will have diluted their money enough that they're actually making a loss on that. Like, if nothing else, like the expansion fees can't be put in revenue. And it's a one-off payment as well. There's not going to be an expansion fee every year. Do they want the salary cap to spike for a year and then tank for a year and make everybody sign perpetual 1-year contracts? Like, that's not going to work either.
All of those one-time events are not calculated in terms of the viability of a business. And the more the players want to tell the owners to count relocation fees and expansion fees as part of going forward revenue, the more I guarantee there will not be a deal to be done. The owners have been clear. They will not count these expansion fees as part of the revenue model because it's not. Can you imagine? I mean, this is something, Coca, that I guess I'm going to try to make it relatable as much as I can. When you get a $100 bill on the street, you look down, you're like, oh my God, I just made $100. You look around, you take the $100. Do you go to that with that $100 and do you go join a gym that's $100 a month? Because the following month, where are you going to get the $100 from?
And like realistically, look, the expansion fees, everything, it is what it is. All it is. It is what it is. And by the way, the players should try to get that added as revenue. This is absolutely not me saying the players, like when it comes to this type of thing, the players should get everything they can. But like, it's very different between privately negotiating, being like, okay, do we want a league? Cool. This is what we can get. Let's push for everything we can. And publicly going out of their way and saying, we're not budging. We are proposing a deal that we know we're not going to get. And I actually don't mind. I don't mind them proposing the deal. And what Fee was saying, Fee was basically just like, someone's going to fold. And the owners aren't, because I don't think people realize this. Everyone's like, oh, the TV deal, the expansion fees. Like, they are going to lose money. Like, the owners are going to lose money. And the only chance of the owners gaining money, and I understand franchise fees are through the roof. They're going to profit long-term on franchise fees. It's hard to sell a franchise. It's really hard to sell a franchise. Not only is it hard to sell a franchise, some of these franchises become really hard to sell because the WNBA makes it hard for them to sell, and that's another league problem. You've then got a situation where all our franchise valuations are going up and up and up and up because of the boom. And if the boom stops, they could go to the floor, through the floor. Like, all of these franchise valuations are hypothetical money. It's not liquid. Like, there's no guarantee. Like, what would happen? Let's just say again, if there's a strike. Like, do the players not realize that if there's a strike, those franchise valuations might fall 75%. They might. Because you better believe every single TV partner has a get out clause. If there's no season. They have a get out clause. I would not be surprised if there's a fucking get out clause from the $200 million a year that they negotiated. And they were only able to negotiate because it's part of the NBA's. And the worst part is that in 3 years' time, where they're meant to be able to get a re-up and renegotiate and probably get more if they keep the viewership, the owners are literally, it's been said, the owners think this is a bubble. And all the players could do is guarantee that it's a bubble. Short term. That being said, There is a world where burning it down, starting a league from scratch where they own 100% of the league is possible. However, everybody's saying, look, there's going to be some rich investor that puts in all this money. Then who owns the league? Then you're in the same position. If a bunch of tech bros or rich investors put together a league, you're in the same position as the WNBA where you can't get a revenue split because there's so many different owners and different investors and you can't get them all to agree. Like, I mean this when I say this. Like, it's not the players' fault, but unfortunately, because the league was an objective failure for 30 years, that it's going to be a near impossibility to set up something and not have the same problems. Like, it would literally take, I don't even know, it would have to be one major investor. Like, that's literally what it would be. It would have to be Elon fucking Musk or something. A trillionaire, nearly, that's starting up this league. Like, it would have to be one investor owning 100%, and then selling off franchises. And if you have these franchises, you own a certain amount of the league, but like the teams own 100% of the league. But there's going to be cheap owners, everything. It's all going to be the same problems. And you don't have the name backing of the NBA. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a really tough one for these players. I hope they get what they want. And I hope that they're not. And I'm not even saying, like, in my opinion, I think they'd be crazy to kill the league by striking. It's a bet on yourself move, which does, in fact, you have to concede, it does have incredible upside. But at the same time, it has the potential to not only destroy the WNBA, to destroy women's sports. There has never been a risk. There will never be a riskier move than these players striking in all of sports. Because of, in general, in the grand scheme of things, how relevant this is. And I think with Dave Sam saying the owners aren't going to budge, I don't think the owners are going to budge either. And I think the players absolutely bargain for what you can. Delay the season if you need to. But if I think if the players strike, it could be a disaster. So anyway, see you guys.